Assalamu alaikum and welcome you all to Media Law, Ethics and Literacy course. This course has a course code of GNC 351. This is lecture number 16 and today we are going to discuss part 2 of the regulating advertisement. I'm Anwar Khan, lecturer journalism and mass communication department, Cohort University of Science and Technology. So, outline of today's presentation. First of all, we are going to have a look at the various concepts that we have already discussed in the part one. So, it will be a type of the summary that I will be bringing before you. And then we are going to have a look and we will elaborate various negative impacts of the advertisements. In the part one, we looked at the positive impacts of the advertisements and we left the negative impacts of advertisements for the part two. So over here, we are going to study and elaborate all the negative impacts. And then we are going to have a look at the two videos. And those videos will be a sort of the proof of the negative impacts of the advertisements on the society, or we can say on the people. So over here, we are going to have a look at two advertisements, and then finally we are going to look at the government regulations, that whether government is doing anything for controlling these advertisements, for controlling for example negative impacts of these advertisements or not, because it is the responsibility of the government, it is the responsibility of the state to look into the affairs of these negative impacts of advertisements. So over here we are going to have a look at the rules, regulations imposed by the government. So these are the points that we are going to discuss in our today's presentation. So this slide will tell us about the various concepts that we covered in the part one, and here these are basically the components or the concepts that we covered in the part one. We came to know about the definitions of advertisement, advertisement versus commercial advertisement and other media genres, positive impacts of advertisements, and then finally we studied two advertising models. So these are a few of the concepts that we have already covered in the part one. So negative impacts of the advertisement, we came to know about the positive impacts of the advertisement in the part one, and in the part two we are discussing the negative impacts of the advertisement, because we are talking about regulating advertisement. So we need some criteria so that we can decide whether advertisement has to be banned, or it has to be absolutely and completely free, or it has to be regulated. So we are discussing it and we need some criteria on the basis of which we can take a decision. And so these are the positive impacts and the negative impacts, or the basis. These are the yardsticks with the help of which we are taking the decision whether advertisement has to be regulated, let free, or banned absolutely, right? So negative impacts of the advertisement, we are the first one is that it persuades us to purchase things we do not need. So the very first function is very interesting, that advertisement forces customers to go into the market and purchase things, right? So this is very interesting. Many of the people will disagree with it, and many of the people will say that how can advertisement force people, because we as human beings have the ability to analyze the advertisements, the contents, and the claims which are made in the advertisements, right? So we agree with it, but the thing is that these advertisements are based on the psychological models, right? Much of the research have been conducted in this regard, and that is the reason that different models which have been developed by researchers, they are adopted by marketers, and they know that how to inform people, and then how to persuade them, how to create a desire within the people, and then how to compel them for the action to go into the market of purchasing that very commodity. So it is absolutely right that advertisements persuades us, it compel us to purchase commodities, right, that we sometimes do not need. Then the second thing is, the second negative impact of the advertisement is that it creates a sense of discontentment, loss of self-esteem, and this very concept can be explained from different dimensions. I will be trying to keep it limited because we do not have much of the time and space. So whenever television advertisements, let me give you the example of television advertisements. When they are when viewers or customers watch them, then they see some gorgeous people, some wealthy people having luxurious bungalows, having expensive cars, having a very happy life, right? And everything is okay in their life. There is nothing wrong in their life. They have got two children who are also very happy, and they are passing their life very happily. So whenever we want to visualize it practically into our own material world, then what happened that we do not find the same phenomenon or atmosphere in the real world. So a sense of discontentment is created, right? Because we want the same thing which has been shown to us. We want the same vehicle or expensive car, expensive or luxurious bungalows, and wealthy companions we want. Unfortunately, we don't have it. Then we don't find it in the real world. Then again, we can explain it from the perspective of that when actors and actresses are shown who are very gorgeous, who are lovely, who are beautiful, and then we want to compare them with ourselves, or we can say, if we want to compare ourselves with them, we are again in the loss of self-esteem, right? We are again feeling discontentment with ourselves. We may not be as beautiful like them, as tall like them, as beautiful like them. So what happens, a sense of discontentment is produced. And similarly, negative stereotypes, advertisements create negative stereotypes, and this is the point that we are going to expand in the coming advertisements. And you will come to know that Pashtuns, they are shown in a very typical and traditional manner, and females, they are shown as talkative, right? They talk a lot. So in the coming advertisements, we are going to witness the phenomenon, this phenomenon. Similarly, corrupting the culture. Advertisements, well, what happens that we know about the manufacturers, we know about the marketers, that they want to earn money as much as possible. So what happened that in the international market, and being in the globalized world, what they are doing is that they are putting some of the elements away from their culture, right? So when they are producing their visual advertisements, sometimes they are not following their own culture, and they borrow some elements from the foreign culture, right? And that is the reason that we say that they are corrupting the local culture or the national culture. And promote materialism, it promotes it absolutely, because when you are saying that if you have expensive cars, expensive bungalows, if you have bank balances, then people will respect you. And this is what they are promoting, the materialism. They are not telling, or they are not saying, or they are not promoting the ethics like truth, honesty, accuracy, right? They are not saying anything about it. And similarly, misrepresentation. What happened that when they are having claims or arguments in the advertisements, then we never go, or we never research about it to confirm it whether the claims which are made in the advertisements, they are true or they are false, right? So that is the reason that we say that they are making or they are having mispresentation in their advertisements. Other negative impacts of advertisements, that are promotion of harmful products. We say that advertisement promote harmful products, and I hope that you will agree with this very concept. And this very concept does not mean so that all the products that are shown in the television, or we see it in the print journalism, in the print media, or on the online, all of them, they are harmful for the human beings. No, it does not mean so. Many of them are very useful for the people, they are taking advantage of it, while some of them, they are harmful. Like we can say that some of the beauty creams, beauty products, that are harmful for the people. And that is the reason that different articles have been published in the print media regarding harmful products, right? And the television, and on the online, different programs have been produced regarding harmful effects of the beauty creams that causes skin diseases and some other diseases in the people. But what happened that actually media is not free to go into the laboratory and ask the scientists to test these very products whether these are good or not. Well, what happened that media over here is performing the role of promoting these products and giving information to the people, and they want people or the customers to verify these things. And the same thing has been I mean the same phenomenon we can see in the documentary The War You Don't See, when the producer of the documentary, John Pilger, who was a war correspondent, a very seasoned journalist, when he goes to different senior journalists like BBC and CNN, Fox News. He goes and interviews the directors, current affairs, news, and whenever he interviews them about that, why don't you confirm the news before giving it to the people? Then, in fact, at that time they were astonished that how such questions can come upon them. So it should be the responsibility of the media to verify the things that they are promoting, right? It does not mean so that media is only a source of giving information. Well, they are the source of giving information, but they need to verify it, because that is what the responsibility is, as we have studied it in the social responsibility theory, that it is actually the responsibility of the media, that media is accountable to the people, accountable to the citizens of the of a country, right? Then we say that political influence, and it is this is a very wide concept, a very wide topic, this political influence, that advertisements are playing a very vital role in promoting political influence. And that was the reason that Donald Trump, in his election, when he won the US presidential election 2016, he said that social media, Twitter, has played a vital role in his winning, right? Different sorts of advertisements has played a very vital role, and that is the reason that they spend billions of dollars on different political campaigns, having advertisements in the print media, on the electronic media, on the online media, right? So this is a very important concept, and that was the reason that in 2017, when the election was taking place in the US, then exactly after 1 year in 2017, election in Germany, they said that they are not going to rely on the social media, because it can be used for the propaganda purposes, right? And all these claims, all these arguments have been presented in the book that I have already suggested you, Computational Propaganda. And similarly, there are numerous other negative impacts of the advertisements, right? But we are not in a position to discuss all of them. These are some of the negative impacts of advertisements.
रात ढूंढ रही है खो जान कहाँ मैंने ढूंढ लिया उसके चेहरे पे यहाँ
चांद सा रोशन होगा चेहरा लक्स से, जिसमें है 7 ब्यूटी इंग्रेडिएंट्स। चांद सा रोशन चेहरा लक्स।
50 रुपए? सिर्फ 1 किलो टमाटर 50 रुपए? खुदा की पनाह, मेरी अम्मी बताती हैं कि उनके जमाने में 2 रुपए किलो थे टमाटर, और उनकी अम्मी यानी मेरी नानी बताती हैं कि उनके जमाने में 2 टके के टमाटर होते थे। और उनकी अम्मी मालूम है क्या कहती थी?
नहीं,
ये तो मुझे भी नहीं मालूम कि वो क्या कहती थी। छोड़ो, तुम बताओ तुम्हारी अम्मी तुमसे क्या कहती
ये
है?
तो छोटी बात भी 3 मिनट में करती हैं, क्योंकि यूफोन दे रहा है अब सिर्फ 2 रुपए में 3 मिनट। ये तो हो गया तकरीबन 66 पैसे का 1 मिनट है। अब तो आदत सी है इनको 3 मिनट बात करने की। सारा गाना गाओगे क्या?
2 रुपए में 3 मिनट? ये यूफोन ने तो मुझे मेरी नानी का जमाना याद दिला दिया।
So when there are positive impacts of the advertisement and negative impacts of advertisement, so what is my say? What is my expert opinion in order to minimize negative impacts of the advertisement and maximize the positive impacts of the advertisement, so that people and citizens of a country can benefit from it as much as possible? So, keeping in view the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and going through the readings of and writings of different scholars, which include Hegel, which include Ashfaq Ahmad, which include Noam Chomsky, which include Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, Yuval Noah Harari, and different other scholars, right? They have different articles, they have written down different books because they are very renowned people. So, keeping these readings in mind, I will say that you cannot give 100% freedom to an organization or institution, because if you give them 100% freedom, then that very organization or this very phenomenon will have very dangerous consequences for a country or for a society, right? And that is the reason that what we are witnessing in the 21st century, that well, different myths or stories about the chips or about the Facebook or the dangerous phenomenon, which has been very beautifully elaborated by Yuval Noah Harari in his book 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. So the thing is that there has to be a commission, there has to be an authority which should look into the uh, affairs or activities of the advertisement, which should which should have check and balance on the manufacturers, on the advertising agencies, on the advertisements, because if they do not have check and balance on these things, right, then it will have very negative and disastrous consequences on the society. So what about the government of Pakistan? Have they made some rules and regulation in order to control media? So the answer to this question is yes. They have certain regulations, certain principles which that looks into the affairs of the advertisements, that are in the form of the PEMRA Ordinance 2002, PEMRA Rules 2009, Electronic Media Program and Advertisements Code of Conduct 2015, and Indecent Advertisement Prohibition Act 1963. And these are the websites. If you go into these websites, you will have full version of these ordinance, right, rules and regulation, that how and what sort of violations if made by advertisement, then they are going to take action against that very manufacturer or that very company. So let's have a look at these rules and regulations. Now look at the rules which come under the PEMRA Ordinance 2002, and which says that the programs and the advertisements, the code of conduct for programs and advertisements, they have to be that these should ensure the preservation of the sovereignty, security and integrity of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. So programs and advertisements, they should not violate these, it should not give anything against the sovereignty, security, or integrity of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. And not only this, the programs and advertisements should be very much careful in the preservation of the national, cultural, social, and religious values, as well as the principles of public policy as enshrined in the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. So it means that programs, advertisements, they are not free, right? And similarly, look at this one, the section C, and you will come to know that ensure that all programs and advertisements do not contain or encourage violence, terrorism, racial, ethnic, or religious discrimination. And if you go through the whole this one, this section, you will come to know that it has made compulsory upon the programs and advertisements that it should not encourage violence or terrorism, racial, ethnic, or religious discrimination. And similarly, sectarianism, extremism, militancy, hatred, pornography, obscenity, vulgarity, and all these things, right? So that is the reason that we have certain rules, regulations in the government constitution. So in this slide, we can see that PEMRA has been given full authority and right to prohibit any of the media organization. If the PEMRA find that their program or advertisement, they are against the ideology of the Pakistan, or it is creating hatred among the people or prejudice to the maintenance of law and order, and similarly is likely to disturb public peace and tranquility, or endangers national security, or is pornographic, right? And similarly, so PEMRA has been given full authority to stop and halt the transmission of that very media organizations, right? So PEMRA rules 2009, and whenever you read out all these rules and regulation, you will come to know that advertisements, they are to follow the guidelines which have been given to them by the PEMRA. For example, advertisements shall not permit, I mean, advertisements are not permitted to promote or support sedition, anarchy, or violence in the country, and if against any provision of Constitution of Pakistan or any other law for the time being enforced. And similarly, if you read out these things as well, that the advertisements should not glorify adultery, lustful passion, or alcoholic drinks, or non Islamic values, right? So I mean, from these slides, we come to know that advertisements, they have to follow the guidelines which have been given to them by the government, which have been given to them by PEMRA, Electronic Media Programs and Advertisements Code of Conduct 2015. So if you study these rules and regulation which are given for the advertisements, for the advertising agencies, then the government have asked the advertising agencies that they are not free. They are to abide by the rules and regulations which are laid down for them by the government of Pakistan. So these are again the same rules and regulation, and which confirms and that the advertising agencies, the advertisements, they are not free. Whatever they want to they present or show to their customer, whatever content they want to show to their customers, right? They have certain obligations, keeping in view the Constitution of Pakistan and keeping the rules and regulations which have been given to them by PEMRA. So this is PEMRA link. When you go there, you will have all the information that we have discussed in the previous slides. And these are downloadable because it is in the PDF format. And so download all these files, go through it because it is necessary for the students of media and communication. So this is the end of today's session. See you in the next lecture. Till then, Allah Hafiz.